Been a long season, but we are finally ready for the final round of the 2019 Euroformula Open season. 17 races down, one more still to go here at the home of Italian motorsport, the Cathedral of Speed, the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. 5.8 kilometres, the final 16 laps or 35 minutes to decide not exactly the fate of the title, but the Rookie Cup title is up for grabs. Hi everybody, Scott Woodward is here. We'll also have Elliot Wood and Callum O'Keefe who's on the microphone first of all throughout this race. Be a bit of a switch around as we go on, but the track air temperature is 18 degrees, track temperature 23 degrees, humidity is still very high. And for what's been an incredible season so far, while the main title with Marino Sarto may have been wrapped up back in Barcelona, we still have the matter of the rookie crown between Liam Lawson, who retired from yesterday's race, and Linus Lundqvist, who had a bit of a shaky race in the first part. But both start in second and in 14th respectively. Lawson on the front row of the grid. A bit of a poor qualifying after a couple of deleted times for Linus Lundqvist. He starts back on row 7 and has got a lot of work to do. Whereas Lawson, if he can keep himself at the front and outscore Linus Lundqvist, he will become the rookie champion for 2019. So the cars are starting to make their way onto the grid for this final race of the year. And in very warm conditions, plenty of fans in the grandstands here this afternoon for this race as they make their way onto the grid. Cal, after a very sort of intense qualifying session, we've got the last race of the season. We've got Tepinatore on pole. We saw what he did back in Barcelona when he started on pole position, drove away at the front of the field and dominated the race. Can we expect the same here, or is Monza a different kettle of fish because it is a different circuit, because it is so high speed? And could we see Liam Lawson, if he keeps out of trouble, Marino Sarto, a new champion, or anyone else challenge him? Or do you think it could be the same as it was back in Spain?
Well, I think looking at the race yesterday, we know we're in for an absolutely exciting race here. You can't get away, as we said yesterday, for those of you that didn't tune in. The tow is about 1.2 seconds around here, so it's really, really difficult to build that gap, barring some sort of significant circumstance where there's a huge kerfuffle, if you want to call it that, into turn 1 or anywhere else on the track. So, again, it's anyone's guess as to who's going to be leading out the front, and ideally that's probably not the best place to be. We've got a load of people out of place. We've got people who weren't necessarily as fast yesterday. Christian Hahn springs to mind in P4 there, who could mount a challenge, who's a bit of a surprise. But really, you know, even Tsunoda proved that yesterday. He went all the way back as far as 10th, I believe, and just got it on P3 at the line, just at the very last moment. So, yeah, who's going to win the last race of the season? Who's going to be right there come the end? Obviously, all the drivers want to finish the season off strong, stake their claim for next year, and equally leave the season on a high. So the mentality is also going to change slightly, I think, and where it took a bit longer yesterday to get that fighting spirit, we might see it in the first few laps rather than the last few.
I think it'll be very much an end of season, end of term atmosphere with these guys until we're going out there, let loose in terms of out there to play and have a good time. Tepinatore on poles we saw, Liam Lawson alongside him on the front row. He won better fortunes after yesterday when, of course, he had the little excursion up at Scarra chicane and then got hit in the side by Rui Andrade into the chicane. Third place on the grid for the new champion, Marino Sarto. Good thing from yesterday, we saw a bit more of a fighting spirit from Marino. Usually from the races where he's been towards the front, he's dominated from the front, usually from pole position, led the way and not really had too much to challenge. He didn't have to fight too much in Barcelona, but he did say, as we were talking with Elliot earlier on, that he was able to let himself off the leash in yesterday's race and really show some race car, take a few more risks, as we see Christian Hahn in 4th place on the grid. So Marino, are we expecting more of the same from him in terms of now it's in the last race, title settled, just go out there and have fun?
I think absolutely. Everyone, like I said, wants to finish that last race with a victory. This is their last chance before they start racing again. It's a long time until that next calendar starts next year, and you obviously want to go into that winter break with a victory. So we'll see what happens. I expect Marino to be fighty as ever, just like he was yesterday, and everyone will have learned his little tricks. You know, he made 4 or 5 attempts going into turn 1, and Nattori managed to counter it before he eventually made that move for the lead stick on the last lap. It's going to be interesting to see if he adjusts his approach and tries something a little bit different, but everyone would have watched the race last night. They've all learned, they've all improved, so I think we're going to see even more tight, close racing in the race today.
I couldn't agree more on that side of things. It should be a very tense race. Lucas Dunner practically confirmed just about for second place in the championship. Had a bit of a shaky second half of the season, but certainly up there after a strong opening part of the campaign. Cameron Dass in 8th place. He's had some up and downs this year, but certainly getting stronger and stronger as the second half of the season's gone on, and certainly improving now that he switched teams to Motor Park from Vortex, so certainly getting up there in the mix as well. Rest of the top 10 is Yuki Tsunoda and Caleb Williams. Here's the highlights from yesterday. It was a really poor start for Linus Lundqvist from pole position, which saw both Nikolai Kiergaard and Liam Lawson win the sprint down towards turn 1. There was initial shenanigans between the pair of them. Lawson very lucky not to hit Kiergaard as he went off the road off into the gravel trap. Then at chicane, he got rudely whacked in the side by Rui Andrade. Both cars out with suspension damage. Left rear for Andrade, right front for Liam Lawson. It was a slight excursion for Billy Munger, who was fastest in free practice, but he was dropping back in the race. But Marino Sato was on an attacking charge, finally letting loose that attacking spirit. The champion decided to get past Cameron Dass and then squeeze his way through other cars at the front. There's more battling between Yuki Tsunoda and Christian Hahn as the Brazilian got slightly elbowed wide, and then as a result of losing momentum, a few corners later, he then lost out another place to Lucas Dunner in the process. The Austrian slipped through. Small excursion for Ida Cohen, one of the new boys for Carlin. He lost out to two of the motor park cars in his battle, but this was the main battle at the front, and a crucial move on the last lap. Marino Sato, after several attempts, squeezing past Tepe Nattori into the first chicane, as Nikolai Kiergaard tried to follow suit, and everyone else started stacking up behind, including Yuki Tsunoda. And then on the run to the flag, Marino Sato took another race victory to seal off once again his 2019 crown. It was second place for Nattori, and on the sprint to the line, it was an incredible third place for Yuki Tsunoda. So I'm guessing for the first time in this year, it was an entire Japanese 1, 2, 3 on the podium for this race. And I think we're all set just about to get race 2 underway. The cars make their way on the formation lap for the final race of the season. Here's the final grid. Tepe Nattori on pole position for Carlin Motorsport. Liam Lawson looking for that rookie title on the front row of the grid. Champion Marino Sato third alongside Christian Hahn, one of his better qualifying results in fourth. Jack Doohan and Nikolai Kiergaard on the third row of the grid. Vice champion in waiting Lucas Dunner starts 7th. Cameron Dass with an improved 8th position. Yuki Tsunoda, one of the Red Bull juniors, in 9th. And Caelan Williams also improving as well in 10th position. Carl Kirkwood on his debut in car number 1 starts 11th from Philippe Caminiars in the DriveX car. Billy Munger disappointed with 13th. He's got work to do from row 7. Linus Lundqvist is the one manning under pressure. He's got to try and close down Liam Lawson. And then we've got Ida Cohen, Rui Andrade, Lorenzo Ferrari, and Nicholas Crook, who had some times deleted in qualifying after he said a couple of times whilst extending track limits too much. So the circuit looks nice and dry, but plenty of rubber laid down from the race we've had over the weekend so far since these guys went out. Are we expecting a faster race, not just because of the slipstream, but of course of the improved grip from all the rubber that's gone down over this weekend so far?
I think you kind of hit a point where the rubber maybe necessarily acts as a bit of a deterrent for lap time. With these cars, it's because of the aerodynamics and because of the engine temperature. It's all about that as to whether or not the cars go quicker. I think we're running in very similar conditions to where we were yesterday, so we should expect to see fairly similar fastest lap times. It's all about how much they battle up the front. Obviously, the guy who crosses the checkered flag first, he's the guy who gets there in the shortest time. It depends whether it's going to be a 6-car fight from the beginning, a 2-3-car fight like we saw yesterday, maybe even a 10-car fight. You don't know. So let's see how it all unfolds going down into turn 1, because that's going to set the precedent for the rest of the race.
And like we talked about yesterday as well, effectively, these guys, I know it's the last race of the season, but this is a very long drag down to a very slow chicane. We talked about it yesterday briefly, we mentioned it. You can't win the race at the first corner, and I think the quote still stands that if you can't make the judgment call a few hundred metres into a race like this, to just be a little bit sensible, you really should question whether you should start the race or not. And the moments doesn't come at the first corner. It comes at the checkered flag some 16 laps or 35 minutes later. So these guys, yes, it's the end of the season. Yes, the championship's been settled. Yes, there are still places and scores to settle. But again, it's a long drag down to turn 1, as I've just said. They've got to play it sensibly. Otherwise, it's just going to be shenanigans in turn 1.
Yeah, and obviously the heart rates start to elevate now as you start to pull into that grid position. It's a feeling like no other. When you're waiting for those lights to go out, it is the height of adrenaline. So to make that calm, rational decision in the heat of the moment when 18, 20 cars are all funneling into a tight second or first gear corner, that's where people tend to trip over each other. But we're going to see lots of commitment, lots of attack, a little bit of defense probably for the people who don't get as good a start. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it.
Well, Elliot Wood will join us on commentary at the end of the first lap for the remainder of the race. So the green flag at the back. What does the final race of Euroformula Open have in store for us? 5 red lights in the last race of the season here at Monza. It's go. Decent start, but one stall on the grid. Looks like possibly Cameron Dass hasn't got away. Problems for the motor park driver for the American. He's standing on the grid. Meanwhile, Tepe Nattori leads the way into turn 1 for the first time. It is side by side between Liam Lawson and I think possibly one of the Red Bull cars in the mix. It is around the outside Marino Sato. One car going up the escape road. Didn't quite catch who that was.
Billy Munger going up the escape road. They overcooked his braking massively, but as it all shakes out towards the edge of the second chicane, we'll start to get a bit of a running order there. I think Nattori still leads. Got Lawson in second. And who's behind them? It's anyone's guess right now.
Yeah, Billy Munger just slotting back in to try and get himself back into the pack and hopefully not getting too many positions. But Nattori then leads them down towards the Roger for the first time. So it's Japan in the lead, New Zealand in second place. Up the inside of Lucas Dunner looks Caelan Williams, but then finds Yuki Tsunoda going around the outside, the Japanese driver who came third yesterday. Billy Munger just ahead of Ida Cohen, who's going wheel to wheel with one of the RP Motorsport cars. I think that's Carl Kirkwood, and up the inside of the pair of them looked momentarily like Lundqvist. He's still back in 13th place at the end of the first sector. Not a great start so far for Linus, but but he can try and make up a couple more places before the end of lap 1 as they come up towards the exit of the second Lesmos down the back straight. So plenty of cars all in the train together, but the leader so far, Naturi, trying to replicate what he did back in Barcelona.
Exactly, and he's getting his head down, but Liam's not letting him get away. He's trying to make a bit of redemption there for what happened yesterday. Hopefully he's going to play it a bit more clever and choose that moment carefully. But everyone seems to be a bit more spaced out, but that's only going to last for a couple of laps before we start to see the slipstream take full effect.
As we say, I couldn't agree more. The fact that everyone's so close together, and it is the end of the season race, they're going to treat it just to have some fun and put on, hopefully, one of the best races of the year. Into the Parabolica for the first time they go. The Tory leads the way. Lawson still second, Sato third, Kiergaard fourth, and Christian Hahn rounds out the top 5. Jack Doohan is sixth. It's Dunner, Sonoda, Williams, and Billy Munger has slotted back in 10th place. He's up 3 spots where he started. Across the line they go then to confirm it. So the Tory leads with Lawson putting him under pressure. Sato in third, Kiergaard, Hahn, Doohan, Dunner, Williams and Munger. Opted into the top 10 as Munger looks down the outside for the lead up towards the Rettifilia chicane. They go side by side. More battling behind, but as they come out of the chicane and up towards the exit through towards Curva Grande. More shenanigans behind. That looks like that's possibly Jack Doohan getting sideways with Yuki Tsunoda. Also, we've got Carl Kirkwood getting edged out wide on the gravel by Billy Munger, and also Lundqvist is in there as well. As they head towards Curva Grande and up towards the Rettifilia, plenty of battles, and it's only lap 2.
I know, everyone is on it. As we predicted, they're not giving an inch, especially in these first few laps. Liam Lawson trying to go around the outside into the second chicane. Naturi thinks better off it as well. He just stops him. Can he stop it on the second apex? He can and get it back out again. But Lawson looking really, really racy in these opening laps. Don't count out the champion Sato as we see Lucas Dunner going wide. Williams trying to stick it down the inside into Lesmo 1. Wow, so much action going on in the first time, Elliot. What do you make of it all?
Well, you can really tell it's the final race of the season with the amount of drama that's already taken place. This is, of course, the end of an era for Formula 3. This is the final ever race that the Dallara F312/F317 will be in use. So I imagine there's a lot of Formula 3 fans at home watching this very excited.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously we're looking forward to the next generation car next year, even faster, even more technology. As a driver, I'm exceptionally excited about it, but hopefully these guys are going to give the car a great send-off. And already in the first 2 laps, they're already doing that. As we see a replay there of all the cars funneling through turn 1. Jack Doohan being edged wide by Yuki Tsunoda and Billy Munger following him through there as well.
Yeah, Billy Munger made a pretty odd start in that he skips across the first chicane, but it's also a brilliant role for him at the start of the races because he uses a hand clutch system. As we've seen in the first 2 laps, though, the gaps are actually opened up a lot more than they did yesterday, and you can see the kind of the lines of rubber that have been left on the track. There are a lot of marbles around, and I think that's kind of making the gaps a little larger than they were before.
As we see Sonoda attacking there on the back of Hahn, he was one of my people to watch, not necessarily in position that he is in today. As Sonoda dives to the inside, Hahn defends it really, really well. Got to get it stopped at that apex, but actually he's mounting a bit of a charge on Kiergaard in turn by defending there. So we'll keep a watch on that battle as it develops. Nikolai Kiergaard really fast yesterday, showing some Scandinavian car control as well, managing to keep it out of the barriers, and Lesmo 2 very, very well. So let's see how that bottom unfolds.
And Liam Lawson and Tepe Naturi side by side through the first chicane, and they came out. Lawson was ahead. Naturi's reclaimed the position going to the second chicane. They were side by side through the longer turn 3 sweep, so I imagine for the Lesmos they're also going to take a few risks here. Motor Park weren't very happy with Lawson's approach yesterday, and then he was a little too risk prone, and that ultimately resulted in him retiring from the race. So hopefully this time round he will finish because he has a title to win here against Linus Lundqvist.
Yeah, and obviously as a driver, you know, Liam and Marino, they're both in the same team. So he would have learned definitely from how Marino attacked Naturi yesterday, but in turn, Naturi knows exactly what to expect because of that. So he's going to have to really think outside the box, do something completely different to what happened yesterday, because 4 out of the 5 counters, Naturi managed to get back on Sato yesterday. So it's going to have to be a little bit of an element of surprise, maybe something that he hadn't thought of and something a bit different to finish the season to take that first place and get his head down and get into the lead.
Yep, it will be a game of patience here. We do have 14 laps to go, so Lawson can bide his time waiting to pass Naturi. And if he works with the leader, they can also pull away from the cars behind. Trying to break the stretch, we say Nikolai Kiergaard working with Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda has now taken 5th place. He started down in 10th.
What a move. What a move around the outside into the Parabolica. That is absolutely awesome. Yeah, what a move. He's got the track space to use it, but he didn't actually he didn't exceed the track limits there. Now, are we going to see a comeback just like yesterday? He's definitely one to watch. Keep your eye on him as the race develops.
And we're watching the top 2 cars as well. Liam Lawson's going side to side with Tepe Naturi into the first chicane, looks at the outside, thinks better of it. He's pulled out that move, which will allow him to line himself up for the next corner, but it has allowed Marino Sato, who's just behind, who won race 1 by being very patient, to creep up onto the back of the lead battle.
And that's exactly what you said. Sato yesterday just waited, He got past Cameron Daz, and then he just sat there. And the last 5 laps was when he really fully mounted that attack. So let's keep an eye on it. As again, they go side by side into the second chicane. Lawson to the outside, Tebi Naturi on the inside, manages to get it stopped again. Lawson's going to have to try something different here because he keeps doing the same thing and it's not working, although maybe he's going to go around the outside of Lesmos. As we see further back, it's all kicking off. Nikolai Kiergaard's got into some strife there as Callan Williams fires it down the inside.
Yeah, and it looked like Tebi Naturi either ran through a little bit of debris there or had a lock-up on the exit of the corner because there was some tyre smoke coming out, or it may have been a bit of brake dust as well. But that certainly wouldn't have helped him, as seeing Linus Lundqvist go side by side with Billy Munger and Lucas Dunner. Lucas Dunner, who is currently second in the standings, but he's fighting with Liam Lawson. He has just enough of an advantage if he's scoring points to keep that position. But if Lawson does get past Naturi, we could see a swap in second place in the standings.
Yeah, obviously everyone at home's hopefully got their calculators out. They can help us with that. But we'll keep an eye on that battle as it develops. As you can just see, as soon as you think there's a bit of breathing space, the cars close back up again as Sonoda trying to make a move. Sato's dropped back as well there. Christian Hahn into P3, but is he going to hold it temporarily? Sato down the inside into the last corner. Will he think better of it? He does. He knows he's going to try and mount an attack into that first corner now as Hahn runs wide, exceeding track limits on the exit there, with Yuki Tsunoda playing a watching brief there just behind.
And you could see Hahn, the rear of Hahn's car, get very loose. He had the throttle down, so it didn't get too loose to lose control. And Sato goes side by side with Hahn, and the lead battle's changing as well. We've got Liam Lawson and Tepe Naturi side by side down the pit straight, heading to turn 1. Lawson's got the inside line this time for the first time in the race, and he completes the move for the lead again. But will Tepe Naturi come back? Because that's what he did on Marino Sato yesterday.
Yeah, that move is not completed just yet. We're going to have to see if he can make it through the second chicane and then start to get his head down and pull away. Naturi's been in this position before. It happened 4 or 5 times in the race yesterday, so he'll keep a calm, collected head and try and mount a charge as we see going into that second chicane. And he's gone to the outside. Will he be able to get him on the brakes? You just have to wait. Do not brake to the competitor on the inside does. And Lawson does a mega job to get it stopped at the first apex. But now look, we've got a 5-6 car fight for the lead. Even more, 7-8 cars. What a race this is shaping up to be.
Yeah, and the car at the back of that train, Linus Lundqvist, he started further down the order because he had his best lap time deleted in qualifying. He set the fastest lap a few laps ago, and he's probably got one of the best cars. Double R Racing, he and teammate Jack Doohan look very good outside of the tow, and in the tow, they're obviously going to be even faster.
And as we can see, as they all battle up front, they're not being as neat and tidy as they were yesterday. It's just closing up the entirety of the field, and we've got all the way down to Dunner in the lead fight here. And as that intensifies, you're not just thinking about the car ahead anymore, you're thinking about the cars behind you as well. Can you attack? Can you defend? It becomes a proper strategic game. Anyone's guess now?
Definitely, and Yuki Tsunoda has got past his teammate Marino Sato as well, so that's for 4th place. He's on the tail of Christian Hahn. Christian Hahn could overtake his Carlin teammate Tepe Naturi as they head down to curve Barabolica, as Nikolai Kiergaard feints a move on Callan Williams but thinks better of it. It looks like there are a lot of marbles offline here, as several drivers do go wide and head on to the 5th lap of the race.
And it's all about good, clean exits. When you're in a battle with a car ahead, if you can gain that momentum mid to exit, get a good exit and close in on the slipstream, that gives you options to attack as we see 4 cars fanning out down the main straight. That's Jack Doohan, Callan Williams, Nikolai Kiergaard and Linus Lundqvist. 2 to the inside, 2 to the outside. Let's see how it all shuffles on the exit.
And Christian Hahn actually stayed in position there as Tepe Naturi swept all over the track trying to defend place. As Callan Williams has shuffled onto the gravel and he's lost about 3 places there to Linus Lundqvist and Nikolai Kiergaard. He was in 7th place and he was another who'd very quick in qualifying but had his best lap time deleted as old British Formula 3 rivals Nikolai Kiergaard and Linus Lundqvist go side by side heading through to the second chicane. As we've got a battle for the lead again, Tepe Naturi looks at the outside Lawson. That's only helping Christian Hahn get close behind, but Hahn mucks up his exit. It looks like he took a little too much curve there. As Yuki Tsunoda tries to go on the inside of the first Lesmo. Be a great move if he pulls it off, and that is a stunning move.
Do not count out Yuki Tsunoda. He proved that yesterday. He was so clean and so clinical with every overtaking move. We just got to keep an eye on him because now he's going to get his head down for sure as we see more cars fanning through. Sato's really struggling compared to yesterday. Yesterday, his calm, calculated approach really paid off, whereas today it's more elbows out racing. Going to have to wait and see if he can respond.
Yeah, he's got Jack Doohan looking at the outside of him on the entry to Ascari. It looks like Doohan has completed the move. A brilliant move. And Doohan, actually 2 corners before, had put several wheels into the gravel as it got loose on exit. As Lucas Dunner, who's currently provisionally second in the standings, is holding off Niklas Krutten, who I believe started last on the grid here, one of Motorpark's drivers.
Do these guys know they've got 10 laps left of this race?
I don't think they do. Tepe Naturi goes down the inside of Parabolica for the lead. He's going to reclaim it, but obviously there's a long straight ahead of them now, as Lawson actually goes wide on exit 2. This could bring Yuki Tsunoda into play before the first corner.
Exactly, and now Lawson has all of that hard work to do again. all the little things he did, Nattori will be wise to now. He pulls out to the inside again. Now it's all about getting it stopped and compromising Nattori so he can't get him back. The drag will feel like a long time. Do not break until the other one does, but make sure to get it stopped so you can get a nice clean exit. They go side by side. Elbows out stuff from Lawson. He's held on to it for now, but let's see going into the second chicane.
And that is some great driving there by the guys up front. Lucas Dunn has now lost another place. He's trying to hold off Ida Cohen, but I think he did reclaim the place that he lost as Tepe Nattori is under further pressure from a second of the Red Bulls. He's got Lawson ahead of him and Tsunoda side by side of him as they head down to the second chicane. In fact, Lawson is overtaken for the lead by Nattori. It looks like he's going for the outside.
And watch Tsunoda on the exit. Watch Tsunoda on the exit out of here because the other two compromised themselves. Let's see what we get there. Actually, we've got, is that Lawson? No, that's still Lawson in the lead. Tsunoda couldn't quite capitalize it from there. Don't count out Christian Hahn. We know he loves a good race. Watching him trackside, he's always sideways. He loves a good moment. He loves to get stuck in. So he could become a factor in this race as it develops. We see Billy Munger running a little bit wide there. Nikolai Kiergaard as well had really good pace yesterday. Still 10 laps left to call of this.
Yeah,
Who's your money on?
The brilliant thing about this circuit as well is the fact that some of the corners are cambered. It means you can get a little loose, you can get a little messy, but you don't actually lose that much time. And as long as you remain in the slipstream, you can bring yourself back onto the rear of the car in front.
Exactly. It's that low downforce. And we see Callan Williams with a great save through the Ascari chicane. Great example of what you just said there, Elliot. It's all about confidence with the car. Low downforce. The car's going to be moving underneath you. It's not going to feel comfortable. The driver with good car control and good confidence, he's the one who makes a difference at a circuit like Monza.
Definitely, and it looks like our top 6 cars have broken away now as a pack. Marino Sato, our winner of the first race, is at the back of that train with the 2 Red Bull juniors, Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda in first and third. It looks like Tsunoda is actually trying to overtake his compatriot Tepe Nattori. Looks to the outside, doesn't have enough pace to get round him, but he's going to try and go for the outside again into braking zone. As Nattori's almost held up by Lawson on entry. There might have been a tactic. Nattori's gone straight past both, locks up, actually makes the corner just about as the Red Bulls go either side of him and overtake him. But we do know what's happened in the past when Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda have been up front together.
So yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen again. But this is definitely, it's the 2 Red Bull juniors now. They definitely will not want to give an inch to each other. As we see the lead battle close right up again to 6-7 cars. Christian Hahn just behind there, 3 wide going into the chicane. It's going to be all about getting it stopped at that apex. Who's going to come out in the front? Lawson just manages to hang on to it, I believe, with Tsunoda in second. And yeah, it's all closed back up again.
Yeah, these are the latest of many Red Bull juniors that have raced in this Dallara F312/F317 chassis. We've had the likes of Max Verstappen as Jack Doohan, another Red Bull junior, goes a little bit on the gravel there. And look, he's barely lost any time by doing so.
And he'll have a little bit of gravel on the tyres there, which will just compromise a little bit, which will allow Marino Sato to get that whiff of a potential overtaking opportunity into Ascari.
Yeah, potentially Sato's also saving his tyres though. We've seen this many times this year. He's kind of a little bit slower in the first half of the race, and then he pumps in consistent lap times in the second half and manages to make his way to the front as Callan Williams looks on the rear of Niklas Grutton. Grutton is doing a brilliant job here from last on the grid, and ahead of Lucas Dunner, Ido Cohen and one of the RP Motorsport cars. I believe that's Carl Kirkwood, who's obviously super successful in America.
Yeah, Carl coming over, having his debut here, doing a great job. Monza not an easy place to come to. Straight on the pace, straight in the race as well, as we see Lucas Dunner defending from Ida Cohen there. Kirkwood just playing a watching brief just behind. So he's doing a great job. Hopefully we'll see more of him in the championship next year. And yeah, we'll see how he gets on and what he plans to do next year. As we see the battle for the lead go down the straight now. Marino Sato looking menacing on Jack Doohan there. He's going to try to the outside. No, he tucks back into the slipstream as the battle for the lead intensifies. Going to go down the inside there, and he just manages to get him stopped. You see Liam Lawson there looking in the mirrors. He's constantly aware of his surroundings as Sato gets run out of road there by Linus Lundqvist. It's just a full-on shuffle now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Nikolai Kjargaard, and it looks like Marino Sato side by side as well, going through turn 3. Just looking at the point standings now, Lucas Dunner, because he's now down in 12th place, will not only concede second place in the standings, as Liam Lawson's getting under attack by Yuki Tsunoda, goes around the outside of second chain, completes the move before the second part of the chicane.
Watch back into the Lesmo. He moves straight back across to try and defend it, back over to the racing line. He's just about hang on to it, but Lawson actually looks like he has the slightly better pace. It's going to be interesting to see if Tsunoda can actually get his head down. Don't count out Nattori either, as we see Christian Hahn all the way around. He takes out Jack Doohan.
Jack Doohan, who's gone rolled upside down, a flip. That is a very dangerous move there. Hopefully both drivers are all right as our lead battle has gone through. It looks like both drivers are moving. We'd love to see that both of them getting out of the car as soon as possible. We return to the front of the field. We have Yuki Tsunoda leading Liam Lawson out, and the safety car is out in this race. 8 laps to go. You can definitely tell it's the final race of the season.
Yeah, as we've seen, the drivers have had their elbows out literally from the first lap, and I think what I saw there was Christian Hahn just losing it on the exit of the second Lesmo. Unfortunately, at that point, you become a passenger. As Cameron Daz also in the gravel at Ascari there. We'll have to wait for the replay to see what happened. But yeah, Christian Hahn just lost it on the exit of the second Lesmo, and we've seen drivers do that the whole weekend. It's so easy to overcook it, as we see Hahn thankfully out of the car. Thinkerstall doing as well, so hopefully he's all okay. It would have been a bit of a scary ride, but yeah, I think Hahn became a bit of a passenger, and Doohan was wrong place, wrong time there, and both of them unfortunately out of the race, but hopefully they will be okay.
Yeah, and Cameron Datt, who did start quite high up the order but stalled at the start, he was setting fastest laps at the back of the field, and he made his way up to 14th place when he had probably maybe 12 seconds to the next car in front. So he'd done a brilliant job to get up to 14th prior to that point, and you can see him getting out the car now as well. Not a great way to end the season for the American with the Motor Park team.
Yeah, well, Cameron was showing great pace yesterday, running as high as second, battling with Sato. So plenty of potential there for Cameron. He closed off the season very strongly. So whatever he goes on to do next year, I'm sure he'll have a good winter of preparation and come back even stronger. As we see the replay now, this is at the second Lesmo. This will be the Hahn incident. He just gets a little bit wide on the exit there, and we can't see through a plume of gravel smoke. But as you can see on the left-hand side there, Jack Doohan turning over as the car dug into the grass. Quite a violent accident there, as you can see. We see a slightly different angle here. Hahn just losing it, completely becomes a passenger, and there's absolutely nothing Doohan or Hahn can do at that point.
And you can see the ruts in the gravel where previous drivers have gone wide, as we're seeing a replay of Doohan flipping. But you can see where drivers have kind of put more ruts in that gravel and made the gravel almost more dangerous when you do go into it, because there's a certain ridge and that pushes you back.
It's one of those things, as soon as you hit the gravel, you become a passenger. Nikolai Kiergaard and Billy Munger managed just about to keep the car out of the barriers yesterday. Unfortunately, Christian Hahn couldn't manage to do that and came back. And at that point, like I said, he was just a passenger. So good to see Jack getting out of the car. He'll take a bit of time to reorientate himself after rolling over a couple of times. And yeah, unfortunate way to end what has been a pretty promising rookie season for him.
Yeah, and what that crash does change is the battle for second in the standings. Because Lucas Dunner is now back in the points in 10th place. We do have a few guest drivers here this weekend, and we're seeing a replay of Jack Doohan, who's looking a little worse of help from the medical team here, who's doing a great job at Monza any circuit. Now Lucas Dunner is back in the points. The battle for second in the standings, I believe, is back in his favour. He had an 18-point gap over Liam Lawson. Lawson's in second place. That's worth 18 points. So he'll only have 17 points more than Dunner in this race, which means Dunner should still be in second place.
Yeah, and the biggest winner out of all of this is actually Linus Lundqvist. He's back in P4 now. So from being as low down as P10, P11, he's actually in P4 and right on the lead gaggle, and we know he has good pace because he stuck it on pole yesterday. So he's going to be one to watch out for when the safety car comes back in. This fully neutralizes the race. As a driver, you've gotten into that good rhythm of, okay, this is my braking point, this is where I am, this is where I can attack. Now everything resets again. So you have to keep your tyres up to temperature, you have to work hard for that. But then when the race gets going, you have to make sure that when you get to that first braking zone down at the first chicane, you hit all your marks and you're fully on and take every opportunity you can, because it's effectively like a restarted race.
Yeah, it definitely is. And the fact that it's the last race of the season means people are going to be very aggressive, even though it's restarts. We see a replay of a rather sweaty-looking Cameron Dass, who's now thankfully out the car. It's a shame his race ended as well. Yeah. Now we've got the time with the safety car, we can look back at kind of the history of this Dallara F317 chassis, which kicked off in 2012 in British Formula 3. Alton Park, the Carlin team, which took pole today with Tepe Nattori. Jack Harvey won that race. And the first ever... we've just got confirmation that our drivers are okay, so it's great to hear that news, Jack Doohan, Cameron Dass and Christian Hahn are fine. At the end of that 2012 season, they had nearly a nighttime race at Donington Park as the sun was setting, and Jack Harvey came third in the standings. He won 2 races in this car, and he ended up winning the British F3 title, which is a brilliant result. Obviously, you've driven this car, so what are your impressions of it?
Honestly, it's one of the best cars I've ever driven, and I've never heard a driver get out of this car and say they didn't enjoy driving it. It has a huge amount of downforce, which as a driver, when you start to understand it and you start to sort of push the limits of what you really think is capable, and that's what this car is amazing for doing. I did a lot of running in these cars. I loved every single minute of it, and I know that the next generation car is going to be just as good. As we see the replay again there, Christian Hahn and Jack Doohan in the second Lesmo. Jack, violent ride through there, and a testament to how well built these cars actually are, that both drivers managed to walk away from that.
Yeah, the Dallara F317 has been put through its paces and through many challenges, you could say, over the years, especially at the Macau Grand Prix, which has been won the last 2 times by Dan Tickton for the Motor Park team, which currently racing the Euroformula Open, and those are probably two of the most memorable races that this car has ever featured in.
I mean, that last lap, Ferdinand Habsburg, Sergio Sette Camera, round the outside into the last corner, camera pans round, and we have both of the lead two cars in the barrier. Tictum, surprise third, comes across the line to win Macau, and then obviously we had last year as well, where out of nowhere, lead for, taking the lead just out of nowhere again, Dan Tictum showing that fighting spirit we all know he has. The car has developed great races over the years. I mean, you've got a list in front of you as to how many they are, and we don't have enough time to read out all of them.
I believe we do. So here are some of the rather odd and some of the brilliant races that we've had with the Dallara. Norris Ring 2012, there is a rule in German motorsport where if a winner gets disqualified, they don't make second place become the winner. So Daniel Juncadella, who won the F3 race that day, he kind of remained the winner in the fact that no one else took the trophy, which is a rather odd situation. We obviously had the Po Grand Prix that year as well, where Raffaele Marcello announced himself on the world stage with two brilliant wins as a Ferrari Junior, and then the Po Grand Prix this year, which was part of the Euroformula calendar for the first time, where Billy Munger took an incredible victory in the wet. We've also had Ferdinand Habsburg, who we mentioned in Macau. He battled Colton Herta in Euroformula Open way back in 2016, and Colton Herta is now racing in IndyCar. He's the youngest ever winner in IndyCar history, so he learned his skills in this car, as many drivers do. I'd say yesterday's race in Euroformula Open was one of the highlights. Slipstream thriller from lap 1 to lap 16. Moreno Sato taking the lead on the last lap with maybe like a 7-car lead battle, would you say? Yeah,
it was 7, 8 cars. It was absolute chaos. It was everything you want a race to be around Monza, So we've also seen it in previous years, even talking about Ferdinand Habsburg, one of the sort of alumni of the championship, when he had a great race here with Leonardo Pulcini passing around the outside in Parabolica on the final lap, and he was fighting for the title that year. So it's nothing new. It's just nice that it keeps repeating itself, And as a driver, I love watching great racing. The fans love watching great racing, and it's great to see circuits like Monza, like Spa, all the historic tracks that aren't, losing their sort of, if you want to call it, historicism, for lack of a better word. I'm sure that's a word. And, it's creating the next group of future racing drivers who are going to go on to race in the pinnacles of motorsport.
Yeah, and it's not just these low downforce circuits like Spa and Monza and I guess Macau as well, which is a low downforce circuit. You've got places like Silverstone as well, where Dan Tictum and Sasha Fenestraz, who raced this car this year in Japan as well, and they had a brilliant battle for, I believe, 2 races where around the outside of Stowe, they were side by side on almost every lap. Brilliant stuff. And the Red Bull Ring as well, which, though it has many long straights, it is really all about the speed through those corners, where Lando Norris failed to win the 2017 title early because he got hit out by Ralph Aron on the last lap, and it's a famous picture of him on his knees in the gravel having a sob, which is, it's part of Formula 3 history, and it's part of what these fans are going to miss. We're going to see highlight of the replay of the start as well. Slow starts Christian Hahn and a stall for Cameron Das as Tepe Nattori got away cleanly with the 2 Red Bull juniors behind him. Nattori led in turn 1 as Billy Munger shot through the first chicane. Didn't really see him come back out of the picture. Yuki Tsunoda, who is in 11th place at this point, he ends up getting into the lead. There's a replay, Linus Lundqvist battling with Callum Williams and Nikolai Kjærgaard in front. Kjærgaard, who has impressed a lot this season. At the end of that lap, Nattori was still in the lead, and Marino Sato overtook Christian Hahn for 3rd place, and Liam Lawson ended up taking the lead at turn 1. Lawson then got re-overtaken by Nattori just a short time later as Christian Hahn and Yuki Tsunoda started battling for 3rd place as well.
And just action further down the field as we see Nattori going around the outside there. Drivers having to get inventive. Nattori just managing to get it stopped, bouncing over the curbs through there, but ultimately losing out in that battle. He's going to have to readjust that approach in the last few laps. The second chicane has been the site of all the action in this race. Drivers passing and then repassing there. A bold move around the outside, managing to get it back out again and holding onto the position. And then the reason for the safety car here, Christian Hahn unfortunately running off in Lesmo 2 and sending Jack Doohan into a bit of a roll there. Thankfully, both drivers okay. A testament to the safety of these cars, and hopefully soon we're going to get going for a few more laps to finish off this amazing season.
Yeah. And having talked about some of the best races we've seen with this Dallara F312/F317 car, let's talk about some of the best drivers. I'd say Antonio Felix da Costa, who currently races in Formula E with Diaz Techeetah. He won the 2012 Macau Grand Prix with Carlin, and he kind of cameoed in various Formula 3 races, including a club series in the UK, so he could race at Macau. And that certainly shows kind of the quality and the variety of careers that drivers go on to. Can you think of any other great drivers?
There's just been loads. If you look at every driver that's in Formula 1 now, they have gone through this generation of car, or this just specification. The F3 car that we have here, the Dallara, it is the staple. And I was a former Red Bull junior myself, and I know even Dr. Marco from Red Bull was so hot on putting people in this car because he believed it developed great racing drives. He even put Danny Kvyat when he was racing GP3 and FIA-F3 to give him that experience before he put him in Formula One. Myself, I know it is a great car. As I said, it's got so much downforce that it teaches you how to maximize that. So when you go into F3, F2, F1, you don't just arrive completely unprepared. You know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a car that gives confidence to drivers, and it's why the likes of Max Verstappen, after only one season of racing, he did that one season of racing in this car, which meant he was ready to go to Formula One after that point. And there's so many other drivers who have also kind of sat in this car, changed as a driver, and then when they've gone on to the next step, been a lot more prepared than had they been in other types of machinery.
Exactly, and it's not just the levels of downforce, it's also the engines. We have great engine competition between Spieth and HWA, so you're constantly looking for those little edges. The setup intricacies are extremely complicated in these cars, so driver feedback is so important to get that car you want. If you want a little bit more oversteer, a little bit more understeer, there's so many parameters you can change. So as a driver learning tool, you have to constantly be always thinking one step ahead and also learning from your previous experience as well. You have a setup that feels slightly different. You go to another track, you want that setup again. You have to think about what sort of changes you had. Otherwise, you can very quickly lead yourself and your team down the wrong direction.
Yeah, and most of these teams will have data going all the way back to the debut of this car in 2012. So they will use that kind of historical telemetry traces to compare to their current drivers and say, well, look, this driver did this 4 years ago. We think it works in this corner. Maybe you could try it, change your driving style a little bit. But this car does work for a variety of driving styles, variety of engineering styles, and it works on pretty much every circuit it visits.
And as you said, you know, you're comparing to those drivers who are in Formula One now. So what better way to aid your own development than to look exactly what they were doing in the same stage of their career and come and try and replicate it, or you do it even better yourself to try and, you know, fast track yourself onto that road to Formula One or wherever it is people want to go.
Yeah, a lot of drivers do go to other championships as well. Alex Palou, who started his car racing career in Euroformula, just like Max Verstappen started his in Formula 3. He's now racing in Super Formula with Shosu Boy, I think he's got the most race wins in this car than anyone else in history, because he's won, I think, 18 times in Japan. Or actually, Felix Rosenqvist as well. He's got about 21 wins in European F3. I'm using my Wikipedia memory here. There must be a few other drivers who have won a lot of times in this car over the years.
Yeah, there's been loads of drivers dominating, but that's one of the things that you don't really see in this championship. It's very, very rare to see a driver just streak away out front and dominate, because the driving level is so high, the team levels are so high. So while you're on top for 1, 2, 3 races, it very quickly closes back up again. And we've seen that this year with Marino Sato. Out front, dominating. And then the last part of the year, we've had people like Nattori, Kiergaard, Lawson, all mount a proper challenge onto him. He sits currently now in 7th position. And if someone would have told you a few rounds ago the guy dominating, winning every race would be there, I don't think you would have believed him.
I definitely wouldn't. And it's those small differences that make the championship so competitive. When Felipe Drugovich won the title last year against Bent Viscal, both who are racing on the Formula One support bill this year, they often finished the races only 1 or 2 seconds apart at the very most, but the points gap grew as a result of that, because obviously there's a 7-point gap between first and second place, and we're seeing drivers going very slowly.
Is that Marino
the second
Sato?
pack. Yeah, it's obviously you can't overtake on the safety car, and I think Christian Hahn may have a problem. The number 31 car on the right-hand side of the picture, and everyone else is overtaking him. He hasn't gesticulated to the marshals or anything to say anything's wrong. Actually, that's Billy Munger in 31. So, but Billy wasn't. Billy was ahead of Marino Sato, so that would explain why he'd slowed down.
That looked a bit like a sort of a PC reboot. You know, he slowed down massively. At that point, as a driver, you sort of, as we see the safety cars coming in this lap, crucial for tyre temperatures for the driver. But when something goes wrong like that, a bit like a computer, you can kind of just turn it off and turn it back on again and hope the problem disappears. And it looks exactly like that's what's happened. So we'll have to wait and see if he's gotten going again. But yeah, the drivers will now get through their ears in the radio. The teams will be coming on saying safety car in this lap. You can see them all weaving to try and keep that tyre temperature. 2-lap dash to the flag. This is going to be exciting.
Yeah, it looks like Billy Munger's come back out in 9th place. He's just re-overtaken Luke Stenner. Billy has a hand clutch system because he does prosthetics, and he actually, does use the pedals as well. But it's the technology behind that Carlin have put a lot of work into developing. It does have bugs, just like a computer, and it's those kinds of moments that have held him back at times this year. Just simple little, code errors and and things like that. As the safety car will come in this lap, we've only got 2 laps to run, I believe, unless we hit the time limit. We have 5 minutes left of the race, so I do believe we will complete the full 16 laps of the race. Who do you expect will be on the attack here? Because Liam Lawson's in second place, behind his Red Bull Junior stablemate and motorpart teammate Yuki Tsunoda. But on more than one occasion this year, we've seen those two get into a bit of trouble when they've been next to one another on track.
Well, now as the driver, the leader almost effectively becomes the safety car, and he can only accelerate once, so he has to pick his moment carefully. You go too early, you run the risk of Lawson and all the others swarming on you going into Parabolica and into the first chicane. Go too late, the same thing happens, so it's all about timing that moment perfectly. Who's got the most tire temperature, who's got the most commitment, who's got the most bravery, who's got the best tactics going into that first chicane. It's all going to come to light shortly as we see them all weaving. The whole field backs up again. Tsunoda's waiting. He's going to try and lull Lawson into a false sense of security and go at a moment he doesn't expect, as we see it almost. He's going quite late here. He's leaving it all the way towards the Parabolica.
Yeah, and we've seen Billy Munger has actually reclaimed 7th place, 6th place even, ahead of Marino Sato. So he was able to do that as he punted the rear of his Carlin teammate Nikolai Kjærgaard at the just before curve of Parabolica. That was a mistake between those two drivers, and we may be behind the safety car for another lap now, although we haven't had calls for it. But they definitely need to move that car before racing gets underway.
And Tsunoda not actually going yet. This is quite strange. Normally you go before the last corner, but he's still weaving. It's almost as if he doesn't know the safety cars come in, and now he finally overtakes and goes. That's a very interesting strategy. As we see Lawson still right behind him, and that's really bunched up the field going to the first chicane. Linus Lundqvist, as far back as 10th on the first lap, is now challenging for P3. The two leaders side by side.
Yeah, we need to watch the 2 Red Bull cars up front, both going side by side into turn 1 as Tepe Nitori holds on to third. Liam Lawson out in front, Yuki Tsunoda in second place, Linus Lundqvist 4th. Billy Munger is still in 6th place, 5th place even, although it does look like Marino Sato has got past. As the 2 Red Bull drivers go in turn 3, jinking behind each other. This could be very dangerous if they don't make sure they know where each other is at the moment as they head down to the second chicane, the highest moment in drama. Some cars are still weaving to warm up their tyres as they went excessively slow in the safety car. Lawson maintains the lead through the second chicane. Our top 4 are very close here as they head down to the Lesmos.
And it was at Han or Munger. It was Munger going around the outside of Calvin Williams into the chicane. He's stopping again. I think he's got another issue. Billy Munger pulling over to the inside there, just through Lesmo 1. As you can see him going slowly there. I think that's probably a retirement unless he can get it going. As a look at the restart, there's Billy firing off Nikolai Kjærgaard. Obviously, kind of probably expecting everyone to go, but the leader hadn't just accelerated yet. Kjærgaard, the unsuspecting party there, and unfortunately
as we return to the action, Liam Lawson is still ahead of Yuki Tsunoda going into Ascari, with Tepe Nitori in 3rd, Linus Lundqvist in 4th, and Marino Sato in 5th. Marino Sato looks like he's replicating his race 1 strategy here, because we do have another 2 laps added onto this race, so he's got essentially 3 minutes of time, although the timer on the TV screen is now saying there's only 2 minutes left, which would contradict the statement the steward's just given us. Sato's already looking at Lundqvist going to Parabolica, and this may also help Lucas Dunner, who is currently in 9th, although I believe he may have just got past Carl Kirkwood for 8th in his pursuit of 2nd place in the standings. As the drivers cross the line to complete their 15th lap, there is just over a third of a second. Race will finish by time, so this is the final lap of the race. Marino Sato in 5th. We've got the 2 Red Bull Juniors out in front. They're going side by side, 3 wide almost into turn 1, and it looks like Tsunoda's going on the outside line. Tepe Nitori is going to tuck in on the inside, but actually it's Linus Lundqvist who tries to snatch 3rd place. Tepe Nitori has just enough drive on the exit of the chicane to maintain the position as Liam Lawson still leads Yuki Tsunoda going through turn 3.
And the race is far from done. We've still got a 2-3/4 of a lap left. Watch Liam Lawson in the mirrors. He's looking frantically left, right, trying to predict what Tsunoda's going to do. Tsunoda pulls to the outside there. It's going to be about who's bravest on the brakes as we see Nitori and Lundqvist going around the outside. Nitori with his elbows out. That's going to give Sato an opportunity to come back on the exit into the first Lesmo.
Yeah, Lundqvist would definitely compromise his exit. It looks like he has front wing damage as well, potentially. Marino Sato's lining up behind. Yuki Tsunoda is still behind Liam Lawson. He isn't trying anything at the Lesmos. He's being very careful. He did mention to me prior to this race that he wanted more than anything to avoid hitting his teammate this race after several times this season where that's happened.
But the race isn't over yet. It's all going to come down to that drag to Parabolica and potentially out of it. Tsunoda took P3 on the line yesterday, so he knows how to nail that exit. We see him nice and close as they go through the Ascari chicane. It's all funneled out a little bit behind, except we see Callan Williams go down the inside there. And Cruton, and they touch.
Callum Williams, great car control. He's got it through Ascari, but that means another position gain for Lucas Dunner, who's now in 8th place. So Dunner potentially has second in the standings now, as Lawson's weave left looks right. He's looking in his mirrors to see where Yuki Tsunoda is. This is the final corner of the race. Curva Parabolica as they come to the finish line. Looks like Liam Lawson is going to take the win at the final win of the Euroformula Open season and the final for this Dallara F317 chassis. It's a Red Bull 1-2. Liam Lawson takes the win. Yuki Tsunoda second. Tepin third. You can see Motorpark celebrating there. Lundqvist fourth. Marino Sato, our champion in fifth. Carl Kirkwood got up to sixth there. Brilliant job by the American. Nicholas Crutton seventh. Callum Williams dropped to 11th. And that Lucas Dunn of 8th place, that's 4 points. And Liam Lawson, that's 25, 21 point gap. I do believe Liam Lawson has just taken second place in the standings, as well as the Euroformula rookie title.
Yeah, great job by Lawson there. He held his nerve all the way through that safety car, managed to just pounce at the right moment, and you could see him frantically defending as we see the touch between Cruton there and Callum Williams just trying to go side by side through Ascari. Last lap of the season, that was always going to happen. 2 drivers not wanting to give an inch, and thankfully both drivers leaving with no substantial damage there. But yeah, what a race by Liam Lawson. What a race by Tsunoda as well, not giving him any room at all. Tepin in third, and Linus Lundqvist driving all the way back from as far back as P10. What a great job.
And we have the results. We got Liam Lawson, our winner for Team Motorpark, who won by just over a third of a second from his Red Bull stablemate and Motorpark teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Tepe Natori, third from pole position for Carlin. Linus Lundqvist at double R in 4th place. Our champion Marino Sato finishes off his season with 5th. Carl Kirkwood on only his second race, 6th place for RP Motorsport. A great result. Niklas Crutten in 7th, although that is under investigation for that last lap clash. Lucas Dunner in 8th in the Soltaire Martin Motorsport car. Ido Cohen in 9th. And Rui Andrade is taking his best result of the season in 10th place. That is his first points finish of the season. And as Ido Cohen's guest, he will get 2 points for that.
Oh, lovely. Well, yeah, great job by Rui to capitalise on all of that. And we saw Ida Cohen as well, a rookie. It was just a chaotic last few laps after the safety car there.
And we see our second page results. Callum Williams did actually cross the line in 11th place, 8 seconds off the winner. Lorenzo Ferrari in the second RP Motorsport car in 12th. Philippe Caminiars, Rui Andrade's teammate, drive at school at 13th. Billy Munger was the last of the finishers in 14th. After that, what looked like electronic issue twice. And then our retirements, Nikolai Kjærgaard, Cameron Das, Christian Hahn and Jack Doohan. And thankfully, our drivers who did crash early on were confirmed to be okay. Marino Sato obviously ends the season as champion, 130 points clear of Motorpark teammate Liam Lawson, who finished 1 point ahead of Lucas Dunner on 178. Yuki Tsunoda climbed up to 4th at the end of the season there, with Linus Lundqvist in 5th on 145 points. Yeah, Tepin Natori also climbed another place up to 6th place in the standings. Nikolai Kjærgaard in 7th on 111 points. Julian Hanses, who did race for Motorpark earlier in the year on 98. Billy Munger in 9th and Christian Hahn in 10th. And the drivers are now on their cooldown lap, the final ever cooldown lap for the Dallara F317.
I know, and this is a great feeling as a driver for the guy who just won, Liam Lawson. He's just going to be drinking it in, taking in the atmosphere at Monza. So much work goes into winning a race that he's just going to be taking that all in, and that's going to drive him through the winter. Every training session, every cold morning where he gets up and goes running, that feeling of winning that last race is going to be right there. As we see Yuki Tsunoda probably a little bit not too happy about finishing second there, but a great fight with Liam, and hopefully we're going to see more great battling like that in the future and going into next year.
I've magically changed back to Scott from Elliot after that race, but he's now raced off to the podiums, thanks to Elliot, of course, as well. But there is, as Elliot was eloquently describing it, thanks to Elliot for covering that race, obviously with Karen alongside him, but there is Yuki Tsunoda, second place. But of course, it was a good stuff for the motor. I'm sure Helmut Marko will be very happy with 2 of his young charges up in the top 2. But in terms of the motorsport trivia question, we can now answer the question, who won the last ever race in a Dallara F317 chassis? The answer is Liam Lawson. So, and he, of course, that was a crucial result. And I think in many cases, whilst it would have been a good fight, I think in many cases, Yuki Tsunoda, if you don't mind me saying so, probably was inclined to possibly let him have that wing, but given the fact that he was fighting for second place in the championship and the rookie crowd, because he's rookie champion as well. So I think he may have been kind of slightly to give him that place, given the fact that Tsunoda wasn't really in contention for anything else. So potentially it might have been a case of, if he's in that situation, maybe just allow Liam to have the victory and just stay behind as a rear gunner. That probably would have made more sense.
I think what makes sense and what goes through a racing driver's mind in a heated battle, that's far too logical. But yeah, if it was, fair play to Yuki for helping out his teammate there. Even if not, these guys raced hard wheel to wheel for the best part of sort of 10, 11 laps, obviously with a small safety car interjection in the middle there. And yeah, what a great race it was. So much action. There's almost too much to remember. So yeah, great way to finish off the last race for this generation of car, and hopefully a promising look to the future for what's to come.
I was keeping an eye on the race off the microphone. I did see the accident, of course, with Jack and with Christian Hahn. It was obviously quite a nice-looking accident, but thankfully, from what we understand, everyone involved, including also Cameron Dass, who had his own separate off, they're all okay, thankfully. Safety's first and foremost in motorsport in many cases, so first and foremost, see all drivers walking away from that, and what was obviously a rather nasty incident with Jack Doohan's car going over. It's not good to see. But here's a confirmation of the top 3 of the last ever race with the Lara F317. There on screen at the moment, seeing Liam Lawson pick up the victory in his Red Bull Back Motorpark car. He wins not only the race, but also the Rookie Championship and second in the overall standings as well. So Liam Lawson wins the race. Yuki Tsunoda picks up second place. His teammate Tepe Nattori picks up third in the last race for Carlin this weekend in Euroformula Open before they head off for next year. And we'll be having a chat with Liam Lawson down the pit lane. He's with Alfredo to talk us how he won that last race and the rookie title.
Liam Lawson, a final victory in the Euroformula Open at the end of a very lively season, and we finished with a very lively race. Typical slipstreaming in Monza, no?
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, I think, Yuki showed it doesn't really matter where you start, you can make your way through, because he got through quite quickly. So, hats off to him. It was a great race, very close as you're going to get without, I think, crashing, which was quite cool. So, but for us, it was a disappointing day yesterday. We had a really good quali. We knew we had a good car for the race, but to get taken out early was a bit of a shame. So today, to turn it around, finish the season on a high is really, really cool. So massive thanks to Motorpark, to Red Bull, to everybody. It's been really cool.
And you are the winner of the Rookie Trophy.
It's great to hear. I didn't actually know that, so that's really, really cool.
Thank you. Enjoy. All the best.
Well, we hope for a thrilling race to see off the Dallara F317 chassis, and boy did we get it. It was a stall on the line for Cameron Dass as the car headed away at the start of the last ever race of the chassis and the last race of the season. Billy Munger took the escape road at the first corner, avoiding all the carnage, or lack of carnage, up at turn 1 as everyone switched their way through. There was a couple of cars running wide on the exit. Lars Lundqvist making up spots early on as he had to try and chase down Liam Lawson for the rookie title, getting past Lucas Dunham and chasing down Nikolai Kiergaard in the process. Early battles saw Marino Sato scrapping away with the 2 Motorpark Red Bull drivers, as well as Christian Hahn and indeed Tepe Nattori, as Liam Lawson hit the front in early doors. There was great battling with Yuki Tsunoda going wheel to wheel with Christian Hahn for third place up at the Lesmo corner. And that also put Marino Sato into the mix as well. More battles down towards turn 1. Tepe Nattori diving down the outside, but almost up-braking himself, hopping over the curbs and just about holding on to second place, getting swamped by both the Red Bulls on the exit with Christian Hahn in pursuit. Then side by side between the teammates, the Tory taking the outside line and sweeping through, although Liam Lawson decided to make it too wide into the second chicane, as they went slightly wide on the exit. Then the cause of the safety car, Christian Hahn running wide, tagging Jack Doohan, and despite this nasty looking rollover for the Australian, thankfully both drivers were okay and out unscathed. We also saw Cameron Dass off. Then on the restart, Billy Munger made the ultimate blunder of hitting his teammate, Nikolai Kiergaard, getting falling foul of that. Then on the short restart with an extended couple of laps, it was in a battle royale between the 2 Red Bull drivers with both Lundqvist and Tory in the mix. Caelan Williams very lucky not to lose it on the exit of the Scarlet chicane in the last couple of laps. But to end the season and the final race of the year at Euroformula Open, it was victory for Liam Lawson, picking up the rookie crown and second place in the championship by 1 point from Lucas Dunner. A perfect way to end the 2019 Euroformula Open season. And so the drivers now in the podium sort of pre-room, and it'll be 2 Japanese drivers on the podium as well as Liam Lawson, so they'll all head out together. And so first of all on the podium, it will be third place for Barcelona race winner Tepe Nattori. That'll be a strong end for his season. See the bottles of fizz eagerly waiting to be sprayed aplenty in what is a fairly decently warm day this afternoon here at Monza in these autumnal conditions, about still 22 degrees or so as a high of a temperature. Second place goes to Yuki Tsunoda, and it's a win for Liam Lawson. Of course, we'll have a representative from Team Motorpark and the national anthem of the race winner from New Zealand. The national anthem of New Zealand rings out over the Autodromo Nazionale Monza for the final race winner of the season for Euroformula Open. Liam Lawson will pick up the winner's trophy, and that's one more piece of silverware for him to take. First of all, it'll be the third place trophy that gets handed over to Tepin Notori. He's got a nice few bits of silverware to take home, including that Barcelona win. And of course, he was on the podium yesterday along with his fellow Japanese drivers Yuki Tsunoda and Marino Sato, another one of our representatives from Michelin, to give the second place trophy to Yuki Tsunoda. Certainly doing his Team Motor Park and, of course, the Red Bull Junior programme proud. And it's his fellow Red Bull Junior racer and New Zealander, Liam Lawson, who takes the final winner's trophy of the season. And that also, as we said, secures second place in the championship overall and the Rookie Cup as well. So cracking stuff from Liam. He's making waves in International Formula 3 as well. And the last team winner's trophy goes to Motor Park and, of course, the representative for the Red Bull Juniors as well. So as the final top three gathers on the podium together, we say goodbye to the F317 chassis, hello to the F320 chassis, and of course hello to Enea Pegusa. It's been an incredible year of racing in the Euroformula Open. It all starts again at Paul Ricard next year. So thanks to everybody who's joined us. Have a great off-season, and we'll see you next year for more Euroformula Open action. But from all of us here at Monza, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next year. Bye for now.